The American Revolution has nothing to do with freedom or representation. It has to do with money. TikTok Trevor here, time for your daily history update. Quick point of clarity, there's no such thing as an American in 1774, so we'll call all the British subjects living in the 13 colonies in North America American, and we'll call all the British back in England British. The 7 Years' War, which the Americans call the French and Indian War, is fought between 1756 and 1763 between Great Britain and France for a variety of reasons, but mostly it's fought in North America to protect the 13 colonies from France. And this war costs Britain a boatload of money. It doubles the British national debt. The entire war costs $161 million in 1763 dollars. Put that in today's money, that's $51 billion to protect the 13 colonies from France. So after the war, the British think the least the Americans can do is start to pay a minimal amount of tax to help them recoup some of the cost of protecting the 13 colonies. So, 1764 through 1774, the British imposed a series of taxes: the Sugar Act, the Stamp Act, the Townshend Duties, the Tea Act. That leads to the Boston Tea Party, which really enrages the British when the Americans dump millions of dollars worth of tea into Boston Harbor, which, to quote from the Mary Poppins movie, makes it undrinkable even for Americans. And that's when the British government loses their minds. They impose what the Americans call the Intolerable Acts, which includes the closing of the Port of Boston, the Quartering Act, which forces British soldiers into Americans' homes, and so on. And that's what ultimately leads to the First Continental Congress, Second Continental Congress, and Bunker Hill American Revolution. But all the way through, the Americans have got two arguments that the British find completely perplexing and nonsensical. One, you can't tax us because we haven't got anybody sitting in the House of Commons, so we don't get to have a say in the taxes. And number two, the taxes are tyrannical and they're egregious and they're deadly to the American economy. Well, number one, they did have representation in the House of Commons through their governor, who had the ear of the king. And secondly, no other British colony had representation in the House of Commons. Canada doesn't get it. India doesn't get it. Why should the 13 colonies get it in the British point of view? And egregious taxes? The taxes that the British impose on the Americans, even at the height of them, by 1774, tack all those taxes together. The average American in 1774, for every dollar they spend in taxes to the British government, the British subject living in England pays 26 times more in taxes. So the British aren't willing to truck with either one of those arguments, and hence the American Revolution erupts in 1776. But how do we know it's really not about freedom? Well, because after the war, nobody's really any freer. The poor certainly any freer, and the slaves certainly aren't any freer. So let me ask you a question. Answer in the comments. Was Britain justified in imposing a tax on the Americans in order to recoup a cost that they incurred to protect the Americans? Or were the Americans justified in arguing that because they didn't have a voice in the House of Commons, the taxes were egregious? Let me know. TikTok Trevor, consider yourself updated.